Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Dobutsu Kyoji, the Animal Liberation Temple. Sorry about the delay. OBS kept crashing on me again, and I believe this time the problem is Instagram. Good morning, Jackie. So we are not on Instagram, but we are on. The problem is Instagram. We are on Facebook Live, and we should be on YouTube. I'm just checking those right now. Yeah. Good morning, Pauline. So good to see you. We'll get started with the updates. I don't know if you can tell, but it's very, very foggy out right now. Very cold, very wet, very muddy. Um, this storm just kind of keeps rolling through. Looks like we'll have rain until the new year, which makes things very tough around here. Difficult to get water up and down the hill, difficult to get up and down the hill. Um, Our fundraisers are still going. They're not doing as well as I hoped, but we're still working and folks are donating. So I'm very grateful that we're getting something. But we really need to kind of set up the next year pretty well. And I am a bit concerned about that. So I'll keep pushing the fundraisers through the end of the year, and hopefully we'll do better. It's very helpful that folks. I know there's a lot of folks sharing the post. It's the number one thing that you can do is share the post, because it just needs to get to the right person, um, to get the right, the people who have the ability to help. Um, I have several motion lights installed. I need a lot more. I'm figuring out. We're just getting up um, very early in the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning, to like walk around, make sure everybody's safe and everything's going well. So it's like throughout the night doing perimeter checks. The fog makes the cameras not work as well, which is kind of not great. Um, I have two types of cameras, and I'm realizing that um, my 4K cameras will work really well, and the fog doesn't seem to affect them as well. But my 2K cameras are not really working in this fog. So I might have to start replacing those 2K cameras with 4K cameras. All trying to make everybody safe and um, doing all that. Everybody got fed this morning. That's super good. Jingda had infection um, kind of burst, and that was kind of an emergency that we had to deal with this week. Thankfully, our landlord down the hill is a veterinarian, and she helped greatly getting him the right care. Sent me back with some medicine, so he's on antibiotics and things like that, and we're just keeping an eye on him. He ate this morning. He's back to the regular Jingda that he was. Slow and falls a lot, but um, still hanging in there. Got our ducks, Breve, Greve, Amanda, and Renee. They're all doing really well. Lucy, inside, probably sleeping. She's doing really well. The goats down the hill, Rob, Matt, and Philip, they're doing well. The three tortoises are in the bathroom right now because of the rain and the cold. There's a heater in the bathroom for them, so that's why they're in there now. They probably will get moved to the medical building today. Our turkeys, Pri and Harriet, they just finished eating. They need to be let out here soon, so on our tour we'll let them out. Our rooster friends, Jax and Jimmy, are doing really well. Wendy the guinea fowl is doing well, adjusting to her new little house. You can see right here, Sabrina May the rooster is doing well, and then we have Brad, Hard One, Mr. Black, Elton, and Magnus the roosters all doing well. And then our hens on that side, Glennis, Gwen, Alice, Melissa, Melinda, Sunny, Dora, and Daniela, all of them doing really well. Got to hang out with them this morning. Our rats, Yamabushi and Hasu, are doing well. The dove in there is doing well, Sequoia. Then we got our Cornwall corner over here with the 16, Poppy, Aster, Ivy, Azalea, Peony, Cynthia, Lotus, Edward, Magnolia, Hazel, Sage, Marigold, Camilla, Hydrangea, Holly, and Zinnia. All doing really well, enjoying all the new space. They're starting to spread out, but they still sleep in the same igloo, which is not ideal. I've got a lot of comments. Let me just make sure there's nothing. Yeah, thank you, Yolanda, for that great question. In fact, I will spend time talking about just that today because it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately as well. We have our pigeon friends, FP, Champagne, Appletini, Tulin, Sasha, Yo-Yo, Petey, Ricky, Spencer, Shambled, Beluga, Beth, Pee-wee, Cascade, Augustus, Frankie, Rufus, Harper, Elliot, Snickers, Boba, Kismet, Farah, Angus, Pandora, Jones, Finch, Sin, Harriet, Lago, Fred, Chamanto, Halo, Van, Capone, Thimble, Percy, Pacino, Lacey, and Sasha. All doing really well. Our pigeon friends are enjoying it. So those are the resident updates. We'll get started with today's sutras and mantras and prayers for our dear animal friends. A reminder to everyone, it's always of great benefit for your companion animals or wild animals to hear these prayers. After all, the service is meant for them. Maka Hanya Haramita Shingyo Kanji Zai Bosatsu Gyojin Hanya Haramita Jieso Kengo Onkai Kudo Isai Kuyaku Shari Shishiki 薬無無明人内視無老死薬無老死人無苦種滅度無知薬無得意無所特攻膨大殺大般若波羅蜜多高深無形界無形界公無苦分離一切天道無足行涅槃三世小仏へ般若波羅蜜多高徳はのくたら三脈三菩提高知般若波羅蜜多世代真宗世代妙宗世無常宗世無等道宗の上一切空心絶不高校絶般若波羅蜜多種族絶種圧逆定逆定腹逆定腹そう逆定菩提相か般若心経願わくはこのどこもってあまねく一切に及ぼし我ら投資者富な友の仏道 Animal Liberation の上善こと地方三世佛系僧菩萨佛系僧菩萨摩诃萨摩诃ho ja horo mi We'll now recite the Refuge Prayer in Tibetan and then in English, page 8 of the Animal Liberation Temple Prayer Book. Sangye chodan tuki chonam la janju paduk technique gip suchi taki jinso ke pe sonam ke drola penjer sangye ju parsho. The Buddha, Dharma, and excellent assembly of the Sangha. Until I attain enlightenment, these I take refuge. By my practice of the six perfections, may all sentient beings attain the state of Buddhahood. And we now recite the four great Bodhisattva vows. Shigi Seigan, Japanese and English, page 9 of the Animal Liberation Temple Prayer Book. Shujo Muhen Segando Bono Mujin Segandan Homon Muryo Segangak Botsuro Mujo Seganjo. However numerous sentient beings, I vow to enlighten them all. However inexhaustible my delusions, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the dharmas, I vow to master them all. However endlessly enlightened way, I vow to follow it fully. And we now recite the 6 vows to our dear animal friends. However numerous my dear animal friends, I vow to liberate them all. However diverse the methods of animal liberation, I vow to support them all. However unheard their voices, I vow to speak out for them all. However painful and inexhaustible the methods of suffering, I vow to bear witness to them all. However infinite the cicadas and tanks, I vow to empty them all. However difficult animal liberation, I vow to achieve it completely. We now recite the Vajrasattva purification mantra. Om Vajrasattva Maya Nupalaya Vajrasattva No Patisajito Me Baba Sitosho Me Baba Suposho Me Baba Unorato Me Baba Sava Sita Me Prayata Sava Karma Sita Me Tichum Shri Yam Guru Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sava Tathagata Vajra Mame Mucha Vajri Baba Mahasamamya Safaha. Good morning, Tani, my mother, and Boslovkot. So good to see you. I'm cold. So, the question of euthanasia. First, I want to address this because I do believe that that is different from a human lens and human perspective compared to a non-human animal's perspective and lens. And so, when we talk about euthanasia when it comes to human beings, I default to bodily autonomy. So, given that a human has the mental faculties, I believe that they have the body autonomy to make whatever decisions they want to make with their own body. So, I am a proponent of compassionate euthanasia when it comes to human beings. Given that, again, bodily autonomy and that they can fully consent. Now, non human animals, the issue of consent is sticky. Usually, I'll default to non human animals cannot consent to us because we can't clearly perceive an answer. However, I also want to say I'm not against euthanasia when it comes to non human animals because every case is different, every situation is different, and we can't just say this is the correct answer forever and always. I talked last week about how, to, let compassion and love guide you rather than scripture and rather than even what I had to say or whatever teacher or gurus had to say. Um, Ultimately, what should be guiding you is compassion. So when you look at the situation I'm sorry, I'm just reading the comments. Yeah, the medical assistant in deaf. Um, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Um, but when it comes to, again, non-human animals, every case is different, every situation is different, and ultimately, it probably should be up to the um, caretaker or the companion of that non-human animal. Um, so when it comes to euthanasia within like the shelter system, I'm pretty much against that almost always. I think that there are like maybe some like life-threatening diseases or life-threatening medical situations that this might be the best thing to do. However, I'm cautious about that because maybe those decisions are based on monetary rather than compassion. And if you don't build a connection with the non human animal, it's more difficult to make that decision. So, given that you have a close contact, a close bond with your dear animal friend, um, and you've come to the realization that um, the suffering is too great um, for them to continue on. I think that it may be the right decision. Again, I don't want to say that it is the right decision. It is not the right decision because again, it's not up to me. It's up to the individual who's caring for them. I'll give you a couple situations. This is anecdotal, so again, don't take this as gospel. But Priya, my young turkey over there, 2 years ago, she was attacked by a dog, and she had severe bite wounds around her cloaca, and bleeding quite a bit. We got to her quickly, got the bleeding stopped, and rushed her over to a vet. The vet took a look at her, saw that the injuries were very severe, and said that euthanasia was the way to go, and it said that in fact, if I didn't choose euthanasia, that they refused any further treatment, would not give me antibiotics, would not give me any sort of way to treat her any other way. That basically was euthanasia or take her home. Um, Before going to the vet, I noticed that she was eating, she was drinking water, and she was pooping, which is a lot of the times what I look for in a non-human animal as far as their health goes, especially a young friend like Priya. She was a couple years old at no, she was about a year old at that time, maybe a little less. So she was young, walking, eating, drinking, pooping. Um, just had this really bad injury. So I talked to another veterinarian who does most of our consulting here at the temple, and she said that we could, try antibiotics and try the silver cream, um, and treat her. Basically, we're gonna have to like wash her wound out 3 times a day, reapply the cream, make sure she's in a sterile environment, which means cleaning up her poop every 30 minutes because she poops constantly. And we did that for several months, and here it is. That was almost 3 years ago, and Priya's right here. She's a little smaller than the other turkeys. She had a rough go at it, um, but she's still here, and so I'm grateful that I made the decision to not euthanize. Then I had a little puppy that we found named Wilson, and I had no idea how old Wilson was. I adopted him. We found him running around my work at the time, and Wilson is a little min pin, miniature pinscher, and he was such a lovey, affectionate dog, and really cared for him. And he started having kidney failure, and would pee himself uncontrollably, and it seemed to me that he was in a lot of pain. Um, he quickly went blind, and we realized that his body was basically just deteriorating in front of us, and I made the decision that euthanasia would be the compassionate thing to do for him. Um, and I bring up these two situations because I always think about Wilson as, did I make the right decision? And, I feel you when you say it eats at you, and it's hard to sleep, and it's hard to go on knowing that ultimately you made that decision for their life. Where with Priya, I'm just always happy. It's always my good story. It's always my story that, you know, maybe you should give, you know, our our companions a chance. And I always wonder if I made the right decision for Wilson. And ultimately, I believe I did. I believe when I look at all the facts, when I looked at how much suffering he was going through, I made the right decision at the time. And then I have Jingda here, who's 22 years old. He's lived a full, complete life. He's blind and deaf, and can't walk very well. And I may have to make that decision for him at one time. Um, but I think it's a very delicate situation that you have to look at. I think you have to weigh a lot of things in. From a Buddhist perspective, um, we're born and given this precious life, and whatever negative karma we can work through in this lifetime, we don't have to deal with in the next. And maybe Jingta's next incarnation is a bodhisattva and just needs to get through this little bit of suffering to make it. Um, so, we'll hang on and we'll, take it day by day with someone like Jingda. And I feel the pain that you folks feel when having to make this very difficult situation. And I think that if the situation is difficult and if the decision still even haunts you weeks and months afterwards, then maybe it was the right decision. Maybe you did make that decision out of love and compassion. It should be painful. It is painful to lose our loved ones. Um, I'm, not going to pretend that death isn't a difficult thing for all of us, even though it's the most natural thing. Every last one of us will experience death. And even from a Buddhist perspective, we should, have a level of detachment that and understanding with the natural cycle of birth and death. However, the relationships we build with our companions are very strong, and I would say that it's always a difficult decision. And if it's a difficult decision, then it's probably the right one. You probably did the right thing if you're thinking that if you feel pain, if you feel longing for them and miss them greatly, then you probably did make the right decision for them rather than a selfish decision for yourself. I always like to think about it too. It's like if you when we talk about from a human lens and we talk about the medically assisted suicide or medically assisted death, we think about their own autonomy and whether that's the right thing for them. And I think if you can look at the decisions the same, if you can look at it as if this is the right thing for them, even though I greatly miss them, and even though I still love them, and but I think it's probably best for them, then we look at it at that same lens, then maybe that's the correct way to make the right decision. So I'm here telling you that there's no right answer for this, but there is a right way to think about it, right? If we make our decisions based on love and compassion, if we realize that we miss them and we realize that ultimately we're just making the best decision for them and not the decision for ourselves, then we're thinking about it the right way. But there's no right or wrong answer to this, and I think a lot of the other teachers, a lot of other Buddhists might say differently, and I think that's okay. Um, but from looking at it from our temple specializes in the looking at animal liberation through a um, Buddhist lens and through the non-human animals lens. What is it? What does liberation look for them? And we often talk about the spiritual and physical liberation of our dear animal friends. And so, the physical liberation means you taking them into our lives, maybe rescuing from them from a dog shelter, rescuing them from a kitty shelter, rescuing from a slaughterhouse or a factory farms. This is the physical liberation, liberating them from, the suffering that they endure in those places. And then comes the spiritual liberation, which means giving them the love and compassion and care that they deserve while they're here, nurturing their own spiritual um, lives. Because when you have a comfortable life, when you're able to receive love and compassion, then you can start developing your own spiritual ability. And then finally, upon death, then we can really dedicate to their spiritual lives. This everyone here, when they pass away, receives proper funeral rites, and um, I would encourage all of you to do the same. There's the prayer at the moment of death inside of the Animal Liberation Temple prayer book, and if you want a prayer for your companion animals, reach out to me. I'll make sure you get that at least. Get those prayers for crossing over. And if you want us here at the temple to do a prayer for your companion animals, please reach out, and we'll make sure that we do that. We can live stream them, or we can do it privately, or you can just say, please do it, and I don't need to see it or hear it, but I want you to do it because it's meaningful, and so we're always open to doing those things um, for our community. So Pastor Rob brings up an interesting point. When the end of life is imminent, then the prolonged suffering does not make sense. Yes and no. Um, I think that we had to look at suffering from a from a wider angle. If suffering is beneficial for you to work through negative karma, if suffering is beneficial for you to learn from, even at the moment of death, if you can learn something from your suffering, this can be beneficial. However, there's a point at which suffering is no longer beneficial, and suffering no longer is. There's nothing left to learn from it, and I think at this point we can let go, and I think at this point we can help them let go. So again, I don't think it's black and white. I think there's a lot of gray there, and I think that we have to look at each situation differently. I never want people to think, again, we're going back to the proper way to think about this is that euthanasia is always okay or euthanasia is never okay. Um, it's neither one of those. Um, it is always in a delicate balance. So that's my talk on euthanasia. I implore folks to think about it deeply, look at each situation individually, think about, if this was if this was your grandmother, would you want the same? For those of us who still struggle with speciesism and think differently, I think Dora and my grandmother have both have very special places in my hearts, and I wouldn't want premature death for either one of them. However, I don't want either one of them to suffer. So um, think of it this way. Yeah, speaking of folks coming here to the temple, I do wish everybody to visit here at some time. Everyone here is always welcome. One of the things we hope to accomplish is like to build maybe some living spaces here for folks to be able to spend some time up here, or spend forever up here. That's fine too. Um, is to really develop this place into a real temple and a lifelong place where folks can um, learn to be at peace with themselves and with our non-human animal friends, and learn what that looks like and feels like, and one of our many goals. So I'll plug that again. Please, share our post, share this live stream, and share our vision with folks. All right, we'll conclude today's services with the recitation of the Animal Liberation Temple prayer and the dedication of merit, and then a quick walk around because we have to let everybody out because they're still in their feeding places. We'll recite the Animal Liberation prayer found on page 12, 13, and 14 of the Animal Liberation Temple prayer book. May all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends who are subject to unbearable pain in labs throughout the world, be free of all suffering. May alternatives to animal experimentation, vivisection, and dissection be implemented immediately. May bodhicitta, the quality of compassion that leads to enlightenment, fill the hearts of those who imprison them. May all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends who suffer endless days, months, and years, locked in tiny cages unable to move, be filled with peace and calm. May all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends who are forcibly taken from their families, be reunited, and may all families be able to stay together. May the hearts of those who work in slaughterhouses, factory farms, and all industries that exploit our dear animal friends be filled with bodhicitta, so the very thought of harm is purified. May they never kill again, and may the slaughterhouse lines, factory farms, and all industries that exploit our dear animal friends become immediately empty. May no animal be afraid or depressed. May their bodies be free of injuries, disease, and illness. May the mutilation of their bodies be forever ceased. May those who need homes or have been driven from them find shelter, plentiful food, and water. May there be liberation for those tortured for fur, entertainment, or who are hunted. May those who believe that they are superior to our brother and sister animals develop perfect equanimity, and may they realize in their hearts that all sentient beings possess Buddha nature, the potential to be completely free of suffering, and that they are not ours to kill or exploit. May the billions of land and sea-dwelling sentient beings who are abused, exploited, and killed due to greed, hatred, and ignorance be free of suffering. May all the nets, hooks, blades, projectiles, traps, snares, cages, pens, tanks, lethal restraints, saddles, reins, prods, bait, poison, and all instruments used to harm, exploit, and dominate our dear animal friends be forever abolished. May all human and non-human sentient beings live together in harmony, peace, equanimity, and achieve perfect enlightenment quickly. May we all experience happiness, safety, freedom, and animal liberation in this very lifetime. And we now recite the dedication of merit, page 16 and 17 of the Animal Liberation Temple Prayer Book. Throughout our many lives and until this moment, whatever virtue we have accomplished, including this aspiration for peace, and all that we will ever attain, This we offer for the benefit of all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends. May suffering, exploitation, and unnecessary deaths be decreased for every being, while wisdom, bliss, and compassion increase in this and every future life. May we clearly and instantly perceive the plight of our dear animal friends with the urgency and seriousness they deserve, and their every action leads them to complete liberation. May we quickly attain enlightenment and work ceaselessly for the liberation of all sentient beings. Alright, we'll take our quick sanctuary tour. Get to say hi to everybody. I always forget to turn the volume down on my computer because it just echoes. All right, you can see how foggy it is. There's our boy Sabrina. And there's Elton. Hi everybody. Sonny, are you still eating? It's been an hour. I need to let the turkeys out. Here's Harriet. Zoom out here so people can see. And here's Priya. We were talking about you today, Priya. It's a little muddy. I know, it's a little hard to walk when it's muddy. I have to spread some of this straw out, but also they love standing on the straw. So I don't like using all the bales up to put on the ground, but it helps with it not being so slippery. So we need more donations so I can buy more straw. And look at Mr. Black over here. Everybody's jumping up. Here's Brad. Hey, Brad. Jumping up, want to say hi to everybody? You're so big. What a big guy. Magnus. I'm going to let the ducks out. You guys didn't finish all your food. It's okay. Here's Jax. Oh, here comes Dora running up behind me. Hi, Dora. Very cold. Here's Melinda. Hi, Melinda. Do you want to say hi? Duck's running up behind me. And let everybody out. Zoom back for now. Well, thank you everyone for joining us here at the Animal Liberation Temple, where we're at the service of the spiritual and physical liberation of our dear animal friends. Merry Christmas to everybody. even though I'm a Buddhist, I I still like to celebrate Christmas. However, I think this year I'll be by myself with just the animals, just me and the our non-human residents. Maybe somebody will come visit. I don't know. Things are all up in the air, I guess, for folks. So we'll see. Um, if you are local, I would love folks to come and visit. We are, of course, always available and open. I'll be up here caring for everybody. Um, if you see our fundraising posts, please share those. We'll try to put out some more this week. Hopefully, I'll be able to put some out today. Um, we could really, really use some help for raising for the next year. That'll be really helpful. So if you can help, please do. Again, sharing is probably the biggest thing folks can do to get it to the people who can help. But thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful week, and please reach out to me, especially like I mentioned before, if you have companion animals that you would like end of life prayers done for. That's something we definitely can do for folks if they're interested. Have a wonderful week, everyone.